with Kate here this morning. How are you? Just gonna go ahead and do my makeup. We're getting to a show. Today we're not going to be doing singing. I'm gonna be doing singing right now. I feel like we have had more than enough singing for me over the winter. I do have a new release coming out on the 1st called Soon. So I hope you all will enjoy that. I'm gonna go ahead and do my makeup. As you can all see, I've changed my hair. So it'll be interesting to see who tries to keep up with this new hairstyle. I find it to be kind of hilarious because Endeavor Corp and like Swanberg and Patrick Wetzel and Ari Emanuel and all those guys and all the women doing the weird big, like crazy long nails and the super long hair. Of course that goes with the pedophilia industry. So, like Chrissy Noam's weird glow wig with the extensiones. Just saying, the big wig thing is tied to the pedophilia business. So I have a feeling a lot of you are looking for something fresh to do. I invented this hairstyle myself. As you know, I've invented some other hairstyles and fashion trends over the past decades, and people have followed. So I'll be curious to see who jumps on this one first and gets it right. It's something between a shag and like a remix of, of course we had in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had the sort of 70s remix. I myself participated in that, but I don't want to cut all my hair off, so it's not a total shag. Like, those are kind of ugly. Like, nobody wants to look like Charlize Theron and Monster, right? Ew. Also, nobody wants to look like Charlize Theron or Charlize Theron. Ew. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and, the weirdo freak from Janesville, Wisconsin, who got thrown out of Parker High School, remember, and had to go to Craig for a while and lies about where she's from. Just pretend she's from South Africa. And, violent pedo weirdo is running around Traverse City last year during terrorist attacks. Ew. Ew. I'm going to go ahead and put some more cream on this morning. Hi, how are you? Are you okay? Well, I just left a bad situation. I'm in some shelter right now, so what happened to me? Yeah, trance music. I had to leave a bag of clothes, a bunch of bedding, other stuff behind. I'm up in Michigan, but I had to left behind like some toys and stuff. Like, I had a couple of cute stuffed animals I collected left that were too big for my car. Just packed up what I got in my car and left. But I'm out of here. I'm not really treated like this. So it was really bad. Been in the ER a few times over the past few months, so. Hi! Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it for now, people. Trance. And we'll get into the odds and ends and the rest of the show. Mostly we talk today. But, well, and then for those of you, I'm doing Simply Yoga with Deborah and OnlyFans. I'm not sure if Simply Eating and the other ones are going to continue, or if we might just be doing, I was doing like a dance show on there too. I think might be time to be done with the dance show. Like, that was the winter holiday dance show. I'll retire that, do something else. I have to focus on other career goals and things that are more sort of tangible and important than that. Yeah, that was just too crazy. It's like, I'm just tired of it. This country has so much violence and so many weird hate groups, and they're just so incredibly active. And the labor traffic is just out of control, and we don't have any leadership that really addresses it. Like, I spent enough time looking at my situation again. Here I'm trotting off the emergency room again over the winter, and, this, I mean, does anybody really feel assuaged at all by what's been going on in Congress with them pretending to, address issues? Because like Christina Wem is actually Megyn Kelly, so she's still free. And then she's also Caitlin Collins and a couple other people, and they just, did this thing where they blew out and washed a bunch of money, a bunch of U.S. taxpayers' money, and they just, put Christina Wem through some funky hearings. It was also Megyn Kelly, and just let her walk off with the money. And Megyn Kelly has a long, long history of murder. She's literally in the weirdo, not a real news broadcaster club that, uses advanced warfare systems to set women up to be murdered. And then because she's lazy and not a real journalist, wants to be there to film the whole thing, Like she couldn't find a story on her own if she tried. And she doesn't have that ability. She's just a nasty psychopath from when I was 13. As if Christian Norm was, and they just let her go. Like they had her down there in the job and just let her go. So then she blew all that money, put all this money in Endeavor Corp. Her ex-husband's company, it's Patrick Witzel's company. Because she was actually Patricia Witzel. Like, how do you, there's no way around it. This administration currently has just been wasting American taxpayers' money, and they're not even apologizing about it. It's the ones that Clinton was praising them. Like, go Gadget, blow all that money, And Katie Couric's like back to feeling really empowered and happy because all her rude pedo friends are back in the White House, because she's a big pedophile. Went by the name Jennifer Toth, spent a bunch of years pursuing and beating up on victims and support groups. So a lot of people don't want to go to support groups anymore. She used to show up at Al-Anon, AA, Narcotics Anonymous meetings. Let her pretend like she was supposed to give an annuity because she was a member. The rest of us laughed and said, no, we know how we're going to give an annuity. People could be members and they're just there to beat up and kill people. Ships are rushing at the speed. Yeah, we got some problems that are going to be addressed today. But I'm going to do my makeup. I'm going to say she liked my hair because I changed it. Yeah, there's been more than one following me. It's really bad. I had a federal case. Took like decades to get an order against these people that took me as a child for my mom and murdered my mom and my dad. And then I today still have a large number of them following me. They're actually all tied to Endeavor Corp. It's a Russian Chinese company and they're labor traffickers. So they're not, and it's just been like one weird domestic violence spiel after another. But you know me, if I'm in the middle of something, I'm not gonna like talk about it on the show exactly. You know. This mascara is, hold on, I don't know if this mascara not work at all. I know, I think we're done with this mascara. I mean, remember this goes back like over 20 years ago, Luther College, I was labor trafficked there at the labor camp. Patrick also yelled and screamed at me and said that I wasn't Russian, so I wasn't allowed to be paid to work in the industry. And I said, well, I'll just go off and do something else. He said, no, you have to work for free for us. And I spent like a whole, like probably till age 35, still being forced to work for free for that company. And have never been paid for it. And the people today, I mean, Caroline Silver, she was one of the ones that tried to pose and pretend she was my sister. reality people is legally you can't. It doesn't matter if you're someone's family or not. You don't have the right to tell them to work for free on something if she's not. She's Russian. Free in the USA. We're gonna talk more about her later in this episode, so you know what you're dealing with, because I want people to be informed. But this president is not on your side. He took an $8 billion payment through Endeavor Corporation back in January to buy TikTok, for somebody else to buy TikTok. Ounce, yeah. I think it's time to balance people. It's time for these dorks to be gone. I mean, does anybody even really value the presidency anymore? Because I don't think most people really do. But everybody, I mean, they were doing protests up here. They don't want him around at all. No mas. I'm just kidding. Just a really hateful, weird old person, but I'm not sure that the Obamas weren't really either when I think about it. We'll talk about that too. Okay, this was too much. That was way too much. I'm like a clown today. No, I'm kidding.
That's great.
Isn't this cute?
Your friend to stop digging into the green.
I can ask. He's not going to. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Good night to everybody except people that use cringy emojis. People that still use ellipses in their
Bye. Yeah, it's a really nasty hate group. But they're out of Russia, Russian KGB dorks. Yeah, I think a lot of people are just kind of horrified because, like, who goes to somebody and just starts beating them like school and says you have to work for free? And I mean, there's actually no excuse for that. And says, you know, because you're not Russian, you don't have the right to make a living or be paid. And that's the Denver Corp's official stance still. Like, they only work with people who are from Russia and China and have Russian ancestry. So, and they're the biggest Hollywood agencies. they're kind of a monster at this point. They've assumed a lot of companies, and the U.S. government actually needs to stop their behavior. Actually needs to be broken apart. And I don't really think it's be enough to just say to go like Viacom. They spend too much time. I mean, they've gone to hospitals that I was trying to get treatment at. They've decades of ridiculousness. Plasma Zombie, I'm not gonna respond. You're a little mentally ill. Yeah, I had a really long those trafficking case that went on, took forever to get me out of, and frankly, and I want to say it was the U.S. government that did it, but it was realistically a coalition of people that were not even from the U.S. Canada, the English, South Korea, even people from Egypt, other countries that got tired of the Russian crap, Brazil, like, definitely the ACLU is involved, the Leadership Institute out of the Washington, D.C. area, Department of Labor here in the U.S., like, they don't have time for it. So, whew. I got some stuff on this, though. Can you see that? It's like, I love this t-shirt, but it's got, like, a thingy on it. Do you mind today? Can we do, like, just for today? It's, like, Sunday here in the USA. I just went and got some breakfast, and I was like, I've got to do a show, and then I've got to get on with the rest of my life today. I was gonna say, you keep doing that. What do we do with makeup brushes? We put them in a bag, a clean bag. You go like this with them. I'm gonna put the cream in there too this time. That's for my bag for like 3 months, actually, or a couple months. Probably put it in there in like January. Put the other one, put that in, yeah. Like right after Mardi Gras. So, thank you. How am I? I'm okay. I'm a little tired today. I'm trying to get out of some stuff this week and get things organized. And it's just, I've been, God. I mean, this isn't the way I wanted things to be, but here we are, right? Yeah, we got a crappy president. He's part of a group that labor trafficked me, and we got a bunch of drama here in this country. And, you know, a president that just took an $8 million payment in January through a group of known pedophiles. That's Endeavor Corp. and specifically Silver Lake, which is run by Caroline Silver, and actually Corey Feldman, for those of you who didn't know that. And they've been working for Patrick Whipple since the 80s, Ari Emanuel, Patrick Whipple's guys. Like, I mean, it's great. We have a totally corrupt president who's, you know, blowing all the government's money and acting like we're all supposed to spend our time in a big old war that isn't really even a war. It's a bunch of contractors from CIC, Labad, and Accenture, or the Middle East. So, thank you. I'm on OnlyFans at Deborah K, DEBORHKY. I will tell you, lately the pictures have been more of me just like going to the pool and stuff like that because I need to rat. But and I've like had some carbs, some a little bloated, but that'll go away. So anyways, but yeah, just wait a minute or two. This hairstyle is gonna start popping up all over the place in the media. You gotta go look at it. It's gonna be a hard one for them to reproduce. I'll be curious if it only takes somebody to make it. Except for this point right here, I'm like, should I cut this one or just leave it? It goes over there. Okay. There we go. So I hope you're all doing well. This is going to be another episode of Simply Stayed. We're on episode 20, season 5 of Odds and Ends. And I hope you've got your notebooks out and you're, all ready to go or feel like you're all caught up on the topics. Hi from Algeria. The show is international. Has a following all over the world. So, just realize you're heading in the wrong direction. Hold on. Oh, you like me? Thank you. Well, I like my fans. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. DEBORHKAYC at YouTube. We're going to go through some things here. So, of course, okay. So just a reminder, Charlize Theron, we started out making fun of her a little bit at the beginning of the show. Charlize Theron, used to in Janesville, Wisconsin, 90s. Attended Janesville Parker. She's also Anna Coulson. Went by the name Rachel Darrow, RACHELDROW, at large in the U.S. Also Greg Vivino, her partner, a number of systemic rapes, stalking issues. That would also have been Doug Fleming, worked for Booz Allen Hamilton for decades. And this is the guy that MI6 actually, I think, originally the Indian government wanted killed, and the U.S. government keeps protecting. It's important to remember that Charlize Theron tries to depict herself in the media as a liberal, but she's actually really close with the Heritage Foundation, which also lies, pretends to be conservative, and is actually a neocon group. The point about all this is that these organizations and people I've just listed are all known pedophiles and predators, serial rapists and killers, and frankly support the Russian government in overt slavery and human trafficking. The U.S. government, as of yet, at least under this administration, has not taken any effort to stop these behaviors or curb them, and in fact employed Gary Bovino and allowed him to kill Renee Good. You also saw the death and murder of Alex Preddy, which was actually coordinated with and carried out by the Chinese CCP, as well as the actions of CACI, a group that is based out of China and Russia that works as a U.S. contractor. As far as the conflict in the Middle East, it's actually mostly Booz Allen Hamilton, Labab, CIC, and Accenture carrying out the attacks there. And it's literally a strip mining operation on the government of Iran for $37 trillion in minerals and assets, natural resources. Also, it appears to be an organ trafficking operation because these groups are no longer successful in organ trafficking people here in the U.S. I make this show to keep people informed, let them know what's going on and what I'm going through. So, it's important to note that, So, moving on, another change of topic. It's important to note that about 75% of the media is actually stupid gangbangers with doing setups. So, the shooting of Renee Good, Alex Preddy, these were all set up using contracting groups out of Russia and China by the part of the media that is actually working for the governments of Russia and China obfuscation campaigns, and thought it was perfectly acceptable to have these people set up to be murdered using radio signals and advanced warfare programs. You do have to look at all this in the sense that also ties into Hollywood, because Hollywood got mostly taken over by people from Russia and China. There's been a few alternate groups set up. CAA has a few people that are trying to stick with actually entertaining people and being for the U.S., but you know my stories, my frustrations with them, which is why I'm not signed at CAA or even UTA. Won't bother at this point. I'm not Hollywood, and I'm not comfortable being around child predators, and I have no interest in being at the Academy Awards, Golden Globes, Grammys, and I'm a member of ASCAP, which is a music association. Like, I'm an actual member of it. They were very happy to have me because I'm considered to be an actual musician. It took like how many years for me to become a member of it. And I'm someone who was raised and actually trained by Quincy Jones. Yoko Ono trained me to sing when I was a kid. I worked with classical art teachers who could play piano beautifully. Traffic to sing for J-Lo, Britney Spears, a bunch of these other performers who never paid me. They gave the right to stalk and attack me today. And my own government hasn't actually seen fit to just put them in prison or even execute them or deport them permanently. It would be really nice, people. And I'm not dealing with these problems. We'll talk more about Britney later in the episode. I need to note for you that it's been determined that Becky Traynor, the woman from Luther College who dated Greg Thornton, the guy with the name Greg Thornton, and then also Kimberly Sue Gillis, who apparently is also Halle Berry, and also Shonda Rhimes, is determined to be Senator Thune's wife. That's somebody who worked and learned on Chinese MSS systems at Luther College in Iowa, meaning that this is the second time that we've had a Republican majority leader in the Senate who had a staff member or a wife or a spouse, family member that was from Luther College that was trained to work on those systems. Mitch McConnell, of course, is no longer majority leader. He had Julie Adams in his office. It's important to note that because these other organizations that it's important to note it because you basically have one person up here from Luther College, which is a labor camp that works for the governments of Russia has to be Chinese CCP and Desert Corp. Let's just leave there. Three of them, of course, fought notoriously at the school when I was there. It was a labor camp. Demanded everyone work for them and try to do all these setups. Remember, they kept demanding that I go through all these setups and agreements to trade things, and I was willing to meet up anyways. And they had M. Gartner set up to follow me, and she had to be, literally pulled out of my life. Back in my, it was probably during the pandemics. I was, age 40 when I finally got her on. She actually still stalks me on behalf of Endeavor Corp today. So I'm saying the show is as much to confront the rest of you isn't just that I'm aware, but that everyone else is aware. And nobody really cares about how aggressive and obsessed you are on just keeping people as slaves. And nobody believes you really care. Do any of you even really value Hollywood? No. Probably not. I know people in this country really don't, so. I think what's sad about all this is that, so many of us, fame is supposed to be something that's light, fun, pithy, enjoyable, entertaining. And Endeavor Corp itself spent a huge amount of time exposing themselves and what they do. And so they had to, and they really didn't. And so I think it was basically a systematic setup. It wasn't actually that they wanted to be honest and share information, but a series of systematic setups to try and demand more material and information from people, saying that they'd given up something and they hadn't. In fact, none of us wanted to hear about it or even know. I'd be rather happy to not know anything about the crap that goes on inside Hollywood and just simply not be involved in any of it. Why would you want to be involved in that? So, but, those three are still fighting it out. I'm of the opinion that Becky Thornton may actually really be in a romantic relationship with Greg Thornton still and really not with Senator Thune. John Thune, yeah. Sucks. I need to note for you that, let's see, yeah, Becky was up in Traverse City, Michigan. Thune's wife was up there last year, 2024, trying to do setups, trying to organize for Luther College to get people back to being trafficked. She's been a part of organizing child trafficking up there and using Signet systems to do that. So don't go to Traverse City. There's too many hate groups, is all I'm going to say. And there's too many weird technologies being deployed. That's Traverse City, Michigan. And then also, it's important, and then they were also in Petoskey trying to pull that crap again. No, just go away. there have been a number of people who were trafficked from Luther College in Iowa to Core, Iowa that have been killed over the years. There's been a lot of setups, which is why Becky was so obsessed with doing this. It's important to know that basically your current majority leader's wife for the Republican Party is working for Endeavor Corporation, which is a massive labor trafficking group, which still needs to be taken apart. Hi, oh you love, thank you. Do you like my new hairstyle? I cut it myself last night. I'm curious to see who copies this because I am known as a designer and people always want to copy my stuff. Like as soon as something new comes out. But yeah. I was gonna sing a song today, but I'm not. Remember, for example, that Alicia Keys was one of my sorority sisters for a group I left Alpha Beta Psi at Luther College. And, you know, we went through the reasons why I ever joined the sorority and what that was and the situation with my mom. And it's important to remember that Alicia Keys was my little sis in the sorority. I don't think she has a memory of me today, but I wrote the song Falling for her and sang. I don't know if she plays piano or not. Even with what's going on with some of the technologies. Like Taylor Swift doesn't sing or actually play any instruments. And there's like 3 different people on stage. So pretty sure like Alicia Keys is an example of somebody that's like actually stuck in the industry and has no idea who she even is. I don't even know if she makes money. I think they just took her from the school and put her into the traffic. But she may be Russian and they may be paying her. I just know that she paid me for work, and last time I saw her on stage she had a big metal headpiece on for the Grammys and couldn't say anything she wanted to, or they would have electrocuted her. Just an example. Kevin Costner is also at large in the U.S. Remember Kevin Costner actually works for Palantir, which is the Rouse Down Hamilton company. Making big bucks right now with Iran, and I don't know, maybe they're going to end up strip mining Israel and Iran at this point. But the new thing is that he decided he had to turn in something that's going on, which is that there's a number of people that are starting to develop that strange red hair. Not red hair like my auburn hair, but I mean like red hair. It's just a signet. And then the dark brown eyes. Like that's not good. That's a bizarre signet that some other person's being like overrun with radio signals. So there's more of them showing up all of a sudden lately. Like if I see someone doing that, I'm like, I'm gonna take my distance. By the way, I hilariously, when I was living down in Washington D.C., when it deliberately dyed my hair that color, not with a radio signal, but actually when it like bleached it out and put like this bright red on it at one point, so I looked like one of those. I mean, I couldn't really do it because my eyes aren't actually that dark. My eyes are actually hazel, but you know what I'm saying. It's important to note that oh, I see. Nobody likes a stupid old idiot who constantly wants to make fights and illegal lawsuits, fraudulent lawsuits, and then never pay back all the money they owe after labor trafficking myself or others, and that would actually be our current president, Donald Trump. Let's see. Okay, I think I've got it. I got news yesterday, this is really weird, that Lalisa of Blackpink, it was a group I worked on, and because I did work for them for YG, they helped me get my protective order against Cersei and Wilhelm, the couple that had murdered my mom and my dad and trafficked me for all these years that helped found Endeavor Corp. Thank you for saying I look pretty, by the way. I'm having a really hard time right now because I'm dealing with winter dry skin, and so I feel extremely wrinkly. It kind of sucks, but, you know, I am also 45, so, you know, I'm in that phase of life where everything's going to be well moisturized, and still, I need another facial. It's dry weather in March. Back to Lalisa. So it's important to know that I got news that they're actually planning to set her up to be killed. I think she went back to Endeavor and had to leave YG because she hasn't been singing. Blackpink was managed by YG, but if she isn't like singing properly, then yeah, that underlighting makes me look kind of garish, huh? I think she's being set up to be killed. So she's not an Aaliyah. So for those of you who are Blackpink fans, I can't do anything about it. I don't have anything to do with these people anymore. Frankly, YG didn't pay me for the work either. They just helped me get the protective order, and then they've done some interference to make sure that these groups couldn't get back a hold of me again, to go back to, basically raping and beating on me and labor trafficking me again. It's important to remember that Endeavor Corp, like Caroline Silver, has literally no talent, and neither did her other partner from Albania, who went by the name Kendall at one point. Jackie Wilkie, leave her college, performs as Ava Max, but she's just sort of dumpy little Russian thing that can't actually sing or dance on her own. And it's important to note that, for yourself, like, know what's actually a real entertainer versus some weird pervert. She's a known labor trafficker and pedophile and trafficker of children. So, I have a feeling Lalisa is going to end up being killed. And just remember that I think YG already made the determination they don't think of her as an Aaliyah. Certainly not a Whitney Houston. She was too closely tied to the labor trafficking situations I went through back in Janesville, Wisconsin. And it was specifically requested that I work for her and didn't pay me for it. For any of you who've worked with me on anything, it's important to know that, it is a good idea to try to actually reach out to me. I don't have management. You would have to come to me directly to render payment. Don't ever do anything through Endeavor Corp. They're actually the problem. And for those of you who mistakenly did pay them, you still owe money to me. That's literally the difference between giving money to, you want hamburgers from McDonald's, but you gave your money to Wendy's. Doesn't work. So, yeah. So, I guess they decided the judgment in this case over YG is that Lalisa is pretty much going to be killed. You're talking about international organ trafficking and child molesters and pedophiles and billions of dollars. If that's what they've decided, then the skit Drewski. So the comedian Drewski did a recent spoof on Erica Kirk. I don't know if this is really a spoof. He did a recent counter gene where he put together a bunch of different clips on Erica Kirk and mocked all her public appearances. I found it to be really refreshing. I think everybody else does. Just to note, Meghan McCain released a statement saying that all of us who won't support Erica Kirk are we're horrible people and evil because we won't support her. Let me tell you something, Meghan McCain. Your father was an adamant supporter of human labor rights and was against labor trafficking. And you have now come out and object support of a woman who is part of MS-13, the Russian FSB, and has a long history of labor trafficking and beating on children and women and people in this country. And she had her husband, Charlie Kirk, murdered. She already has a new boyfriend. She was literally out celebrating his death the day after it happened. She hired Jackie Wilkie and Endeavor Corp to actually kill him. Charlie Kirk was in the process of divorcing her, had come out not in support of Donald Trump over the summer as a broadcaster, or independent influencer, whatever you want to call him. And he also had come out as a victim of child abuse. The Donald Trump administration we have currently, other than the Bill Clinton administration, is one of the most over pedophile organizations I've ever seen. George W. Bush wasn't good on the issue either, though. Let's talk about Drewski. So this comedian has done a skit, and I saw it right away. I was like, oh, this is so great. He's doing the white chicks thing. White chicks were with the Wayans brothers, where they showed you how some of these criminals dress up so blatantly, obviously, against their race. Fatina will dress up as a black person sometimes. That's Jackie Wilkie, other than college. She's actually from Albania and works for the Russian government. And has gone out and committed crimes and pretended to be black. TMZ has an actual interviews with her where she dressed up as a black person and pretended to be one of P. Diddy's people. Worse, was actually at parties with P. Diddy pretending to be a black person and abusing and raping people. She also will sometimes try to make herself appear as a blonde white woman. All Drewski's showing you is that what you're seeing is so far from reality in the media with some of these perverts and criminals and pedophile, organ trafficking, labor trafficking groups. So I applaud you, Drewski. I'm going to hope you make it because they're going to be after you just like they were after the Wayans brothers for doing that. Now let's talk about some of the people who made errors, because the Drewski thing wasn't really that funny, only because Erica Kirk is so horse. I look at Erica Kirk and I see what she is. If you want to know how he knows about Erica Kirk, it's because Michael Swanberg, Michael Cole, Patrick Witzel, all these guys that worked at Endeavor Corp Ari's people, even Caroline Silver, who is running Silver Lake and has been with them since the 80s and is a huge pervert, works with the Russian GRU, Russia Speed, said Erica Kirk was all this. Like, I gathered all this on my way out on the investigations. Erica Kirk is definitely a nasty murderer. You can better believe it that she murdered this guy that she was supposed to be legally married to, Charlie Kirk. And you really better believe she already has another boyfriend who she had lined up before Charlie Kirk died. That she had already been involved with. So she really wasn't married in any sense to Charlie Kirk outside of just might have an economic arrangement with him. So here's the problem. I got two people I'm going to tag because you got a little more excited and the way you handled it wasn't good. We also need to know really quickly before I go back on this that Erica Kirk actually is in a relationship with J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance has decided to not try and run for any more higher offices, so he's not going to run for president. Thank you very much. Going forward, it's important to remember that some of you are going to be really tempted to take this situation with Erica Kirk and say, oh, look at the stupid white lady. And Erica Kirk is actually Russian, and she may very well be a dark-skinned person. She's got the weird psycho contact lenses in, dyed her hair blonde, the whole thing. This was also a problem with Tammy Faye Baker, right? Like, can we get a witness on the Tammy Faye Baker jokes? Because that might be the best analysis I've ever seen. That came out before the Drewski skit even hit the media. But we got two people who went a little too far with it and got a little too excited. And that would be Godfrey, started saying she's a stupid conservative white lady and being really nasty. I liked Godfrey as a comedian until he did that. And then I went, wow. I thought, you know, you were this informed, thinking person who was here to, like, bring clarity and, you know, reduce the harm with these nasty pedophiles and weirdos all over the place. In the media, because we got Katie Kirk on our face every day. Like, you can make fun of Katie Kirk as you want. That one's actually white and Russian. And a neo bitch who likes to electrocute people and get up in everyone's face like it's disgusting. Every day she's on the media like, attacking the American public with her pedophilia. It's gross. It's offensive and weird. I think we should all sue, like, NBC for even putting her on the air. And Savannah Guthrie. It's just disgusting. They took that old woman out and killed her. So anytime you want to rip on them, Godfrey, we'll be here. But I think you lost me on this one. Because you just don't get it. He made too many racist comments and decided to attack white people, which puts him in the category of being just another Russian obfuscationist. Also, Candace of TPUSA, I've enjoyed her even going so far as to say the proof is in the pudding, just in case the rest of us have felt, you know, unloved or slighted in these situations. By the way, that's a reference to what happened to the Unabomber. But Candace also went in the wrong direction with it and got racial. And Candace is actually married to a white guy. So I don't know what's going on with Candace there. I think maybe you two, you and Godfrey just, like, I make these shows because I know some of you are feeling really desperate, but this was, like, too desperate on your part, and you fell into race baiting, and that's a mistake. So, you lost my respect there, and I actually admired you both until you took the skit in the wrong direction. But what Drewski's done with the situation with the white chicks thing is perfect, because it shows people what criminals actually do. It's showing you how far they can go with dressing themselves up. They can go from looking like being a black man to looking like a white woman. Okay? Me, this is actually me. Like, you've seen as much as I do. Right? I put on jewelry, do my hair. I don't really do my hair. I kind of do. I brush my hair and put on gel. And then I put on makeup. That's kind of it. And I take showers. Yeah. So, anyways, so just be careful not to fall into the trap of getting racial and falling in with making fun of white women. You need to stick with making fun of weird con artists. Yeah. Because that's what Drewski was trying to do, I'm pretty sure. Although Drewski has a name where I'm like, literally going, are you also Russian? Like, are you just some kind of fake response that, you know, Endeavor Corp set up? Or are you like one of RuPaul's people? Because I'm friends with RuPaul. I mean, I knew RuPaul throughout my life. Who, you know, believe in what drag queens actually do, which is that they take a situation and they bring light to it and comedy and help people laugh about it and somehow inspire and teach people at the same time. And RuPaul is really good at that. So I think Drewski might be a RuPaul person. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm a little disappointed with a few of you in the actual black community. I'm actually going to even question whether or not Godfrey's even black at this point. Are you concerned if she's some big white guy from Russia? I mean, all the Russians aren't really white, but they are super white in their minds, and that's the most important thing to them. So, sometimes I think I would read. I'm taking a topic change here. Sometimes I think I should really just name this show simply "Perverts Being Called Out." Let's see. Rumors that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be forced to step down or is planning to step down to get out of the situation. That would seem like a good idea, but the reality is that both she, Pam Bondi, Christine Noem, who's actually Megyn Kelly, all need to actually spend time in prison. Megyn Kelly actually needs to go away permanently to a psychiatric prison. And she was part of the Barbie and Ken murders up in Canada. She was the Barbie. And her current husband is actually gone by the name Scott Livingston and also Frederick Steiner, worked for both Who's on My Hamilton and CICI, and was responsible for that guy from the Detroit Lions who his leg broken last year, having to have all those surgeries. So, yeah. It's also important to note that the Ukraine is claiming, they said let's start over. There was an article put out that said the Ukraine claimed the U.S. government, the U.S. State Department told the Ukraine to cede territory. That is incorrect. The U.S. government is a multi-level organization. Do not make blanket statements with the U.S. government. You need to cite specific agencies, states, provinces, whatever you want to call, like counties. They're not provinces in the U.S., but counties, cities, states. The fraud is out of control sometimes, and it always gets started with misunderstandings about how our government's set up. The government of the U.S., by and large, does not support the Ukraine ceding territory to Russia. We would like for you to continue fighting for your land, and I would like to see you all get your beautiful waterfront property back there in the Mediterranean area. That's not even quite called the Mediterranean. It's actually a different body of water. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not even going to bother looking at the name right now because I've got to get through the rest of the show. But nobody here wants you to give up your territory to Russia. That is a Trump administration that has investments in Russia and likes living Putin's asshole as well as Iowa's butthole. Please don't think the U.S., by and large, doesn't support you in fighting for your land. And stop listening to Donald Trump. Also important to note that okay, I got a message last night. Salt and Pepper, TLC, and Invoke were on performing on Fox, I guess, on Friday. I didn't see the show till last night. I was too busy. And I'm not tuning into regular TV, really. But I got the note. I know it's been hard, but the way you handle it has not even been kind of inspiring. It's been massively inspiring to all of us, and we don't want to just handle ourselves from here. And then apparently, Chili was interviewed by TMZ because she has come under some suspicion in the death of Left Eye. That's still being investigated. I did know it looked like all the women were actually performing and singing. I congratulate all of you for actually bothering to sing and perform. You need to be really careful. I hope you've all cut yourselves off from Endeavor Corporation, especially Caroline Silver, Corey Feldman, who also appears as Sam Silver. Stay away from Endeavor Corporation. They're going to try to blame you in this situation for having any presence in the media or performing, because so many other people are being taken to task and have actually had to deal with legal issues and even, frankly, being cut off for myself because I was being labor trafficked so massively for all of them. None of these people or Endeavor Corp know how to do anything on their own. They have actually had to keep myself and other people as slaves. And I wasn't paid for 30 years of work. So protect yourself, ladies. Protect yourselves. That's all I have to say. Also, I'd like to say something else. I know it costs you some money to go out and perform on Friday, and I think the most important thing is that you all keep yourself safe. For those of you who are not part of these weird disgusting groups, please, I know it costs you, like, the public doesn't know this, but I do. I know it costs you money to go be on Fox. Like, you have to pay your PR people and management, security to go on there. You know, it's not something you probably see the money maker. It's something you probably did for the public. So I'll thank you for that. But just remember what I just said previous to this about what's going on with Endeavor Corp and Swanberg and all these guys, because they're really nasty and you know, don't just go ahead and do it and blow the money on performing if it's going to put yourself or other people at risk for labor trafficking. So, I need to go through one more here for you. So Caroline Silver is the woman that, this is gross, just, you know, watch your kids if they're watching this, because the shirt, because it's a symbol the rest of us made in the child rights community. By the way, this shirt, SpongeBob SquarePants, makes Katie Couric crazy because it's a symbol of people who don't support pedophilia. It's actually our unofficial symbol, with SpongeBob. So, don't support pedophilia and labor trafficking, raping kids. Right here. It's more known that Caroline Silver is still at large. This person was also known by the name Junior McGarrahan, by the name Borup Orgazali, and still is actively down at the Johnson Theater in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is a person that literally, when I was a little girl at like age 8, took my mom into a room with these other people from Endeavor Corp and began raping her, and then right afterwards escorted me in and forced me to watch her being raped and beat on. My mom had a stroke that day, and my mother was forced to watch me be raped. Caroline Silver literally is the person who dragged me in there to watch that. But she's free and at large in the U.S., and it took me till age 39 to get an order that would stop her from having access to me. You also need to know that the Supreme Court actually takes the issue very seriously, but they also seem to move very slowly, and it's actually scary that they don't have any more power than they do in these situations. Caroline Silver facilitated the $8 billion payment to Donald Trump back in January for TikTok. Those of you who don't support labor trafficking, child trafficking, organ trafficking have already probably been thrown off of TikTok by this point anyways. So it's been taken over by Bolsheviks. It's also important to note that this person was a child still in his possession that went by the name Franklin Silver that's been trafficking for the entertainment industry. And you also need to remember that, I mean, this is someone that stole material from me and threatened to kill me if I didn't work for free for Britney Spears, but yet, you know, you want a pop topic tie-in, we're all supposed to feel sorry for Britney Spears and be like, oh gosh, Britney, we're so happy for you being sober. No, Britney Spears needs to be carted off to a psychiatric prison. Britney Spears actually owes me money for work. Britney Spears hangs out with overt child rapists and perverts, and she had 2 sons in her possession at one point. They were supposed to be her sons that she was trafficking. They're no longer with her because she's an overt child trafficker. We're also supposed to apparently congratulate that now both Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears are known for having DUIs. Well, I'd like to see them both in prison at this point for labor trafficking. Again, your current president, Donald Trump, took an $8 billion payment for facilitating the sale of TikTok from a known labor trafficking, drug trafficking, organ trafficking group. It's called Endeavor Corporation in January 2026. That's all for this episode of Odds and Ends. I'll see you again